So last year around this time, I made this car, which was my most powerful, not necessarily fastest, but most powerful car of 2024 with 12,000 horsepower. But a lot of things have changed in this game since last year, including superchargers, twin charging, all that stuff. And I'm curious now, what is the most amount of power I can make within a reasonable time frame? We could sit here forever and tweak endlessly, but can I do more than 12K easily? Or is this going to take a while? Let's try it. Now, if you watched my largest engine possible video, then you'll have seen this behemoth before. It is the 75 liter V16, which is insanity. The biggest engine that you can get in this game. It's massive in all possible aspects. And it makes a pretty cool 10,400 peak horsepower. Now, in that video, a lot of people had suggestions on things that I can do to try and make more power, and I say, let's do it. Let's try to make more. Let's try to see what else I can get from this without breaking it, because currently right now it is very much limited by the torque reliability threshold. This is a clone of that engine, so we're not going to screw it up. Unfortunately, being 75 liters, the only thing it actually fits into is a bus. So therefore, this is the most powerful bus I have created this year, 2025. Let's see what we can do with that. Okay, so we're going to start off exactly the same as I had it before. Basically, it's going to be set to the largest displacement I can get, although I might have to change that because of RPM reliability as well. Dual overhead cam, probably not necessary, but I'm going to leave it where it is. And everything else here will be the same. 75 liters of total displacement using the best heavy components that we can in order to make that happen. Limiting factors here, RPM obviously is the biggest one. That is the most significant one at 99%, but also torque. I cannot make more torque than this. And so we basically need to lower the amount of torque that I'm making and up the amount of power. I realize that doesn't make a lot of sense, but this is all about that blue number there on the right. I want that as high as possible. We're darn close to the 12K, so let's do better. Naturally, we are running a supercharger and turbocharger setup, but I have a suspicion that running just no supercharger will probably be better, and I suspect honestly that my whole setup here is pretty trash. Turbos are actually not terrible. The supercharger is like, this is garbage, so they got to do something about that. So for the sake of the engine, we're down to a much more reasonable 8,812 horsepower and 13,000 newton meters of torque. One of the suggestions that somebody had was to take the, I believe it was here, compression, and just pretty much put this as low as possible. That does lower things, but not necessarily any more than what we're at. Putting on VVT, we gain a little bit of power as well. Somehow we got to cut off this torque peak. This is just way too much. So there's a few things I want to try, obviously, now that we have a lot more going on here. Taking a look at the turbos, we can basically try to get this into here. That is the goal in order to be the most efficient that we can with our quad turbo setup. The intercooler being tiny like this is probably not helping. Let's extend that out a bit further. Oh yeah, that's a lot more power just from intercooler. We can actually see the restrictions up here. I don't think that's as well displayed as this is, but our intercooler is quite restrictive. So more power means bigger intercooler, and hopefully not exploding too badly. You can see that this is extending our line here. It's a flat line because our boost is cut off at 11 psi. I don't even want to know what's going to happen if I turn that up, but hopefully with this we can sort of get to where we need to be. This line should probably be around here, and there we failed due to too much torque. So we've pretty much done it. I mean, this is the most powerful car I've made, or most powerful vehicle I guess I've made 2025 right there. It's almost 11,500 horsepower. Again, the biggest issue that we're facing is the components are just not strong enough to take this kind of force. 96%, 99%, I cannot go higher in the RPM, and I cannot go higher in the torque. Again, I believe I have the best stuff that I can get, being the crank is billet steel heavy. That is the highest torque component that I can get. So in order to make more power, we're going to have to do something I don't want to do, which is shrink the engine. No! Yeah, I mean, shrinking the engine doesn't necessarily help, but it might be able to help me out here. Basically, let's take a look at this. So we're looking for, this is adjusting the stroke. Let's try doing a narrow bore and just kind of see where that ends up. Ooh, interesting. So 8571, this all the way up 8662. So having the bore be bigger means that we have more torque reliability. And having the stroke be smaller means that this is going up. This is at 8686. If I turn this down one tick, 8710. So we actually need to lower the stroke, and that will let us get more power. Let's pass this 12,000 with ease now. Less stroke is a good thing on this thing. Okay, I've got it to the point where adjusting the stroke is not really going to change anything because the pistons are now our limit. And again, the pistons are the best pistons that you can get for torque. It is the forged heavy that is the best of the best for torque. So let's see where this gets me. I mean, this is a little bit better, so hopefully that'll allow me to get more power going. We still don't have much, well, we have a tiny bit better RPM. So first thing I'm going to do is turn the RPM limit up one tick. That's good, and it's probably going to break. Yeah, so right here is where the limit is, but you can see how much difference just a little bit of RPM makes. This is also with ridiculously low compression. It's 5-to-1. I'm wondering if I turn that up, if we just gain power astronomically, but again, negative 84%. Biggest thing that I can do now is sort of just tweak it and try to get to where I want to be. Again, looking at this graph, turbos can be more efficient. There's a lot more that I can do here to make this better. This isn't that bad, but it should be here, not all the way down here. So I've turned up the intercooler size by 1, and immediately we gain 11,700 horsepower. We're going to crest that 12K without any issues. 12,165.7 horsepower. I love getting rid of these restrictions. It feels good. Okay, we're at 12,362 horses, and that is at the tippity top of the reliability for the pistons and the crank. And that is with less displacement, might I add. So sometimes more displacement is not a good thing. However, can we, I don't know, there's got to be a way to get this to be even better. Now I need to adjust pistons and crank. Conrod's still looking good. One of the things I've been wanting to try is giving myself a little bit more tuning by having VVL. That should hopefully give me a chance to take power away from the bottom end to give it to the top. And if you look at that, that is a little bit better. We're still within breathing room over on this side, so I can make more power. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, I've been able to cut some of the torque out of the base there, and that gives us a lot more room to play, which is good. Cutting off this tip is good. Now I need to cut off this one. So if I lower this a lot, then we just lose a ton of bottom end torque. So I turned the VVT off and I turned it back on again. You can see it really makes a huge difference in torque, but not as much of a difference in power. So I'm actually going to cut VVT, which does lower our, well, everything by a pretty significant amount. Keeping the VVO profile where it is, I'm very curious if I can get more power now at the expense of torque again. Now that I'm at negative 77, I could probably raise this up a lot higher. Going back over to here, the intercooler's a little bit restrictive. Compressor's the most. So I'm going to go back over to that and just adjust it a touch and see if we can gain more power. Oh yeah, easy. So we're at negative 90% and I am making more power, 12,645.8 horsepower. I'm trying to get the intercooler all the way up. And I'm planning on basically just leaving it right there. Come on, 13,000 horses. Almost 13,000 horsepower in the tank there. That is crazy good. See, I'm wondering if we go, I don't know, like, would it be better to run sequential or maybe compound turbos and use that to cut power out of the bottom end, the tuning ability of those? That's one of the things that I might not be able to get to today, but it's a thought on my mind. Nearly 13,000 horses there, and a little bit more left before the pistons give out. One of the things I've been thinking about as well is that turbo shape also contributes significantly to the way that this thing works. As you can see here, the larger the turbine size, it's going to support higher mass flow, but earlier spool and better throttle response come with a smaller turbine. If we go to compressor, Larger compressor, generally a good thing. Higher boost, higher efficiency, higher mass airflow, better throttle response with a small compressor. So that would put the torque down lower, I think. That would also cut power pretty dramatically because this is as big as it can go. Oh, 13,000. I might have done something here. Negative 99. Nothing else can happen there. I'm going to increase the turbine a little bit. Oh, it's negative 100. I mean, I've maxed it out completely with that touch. I'm just going to keep pushing it until it gives up here. Interesting, interesting. We are losing bottom end torque. But I actually almost want to lose top end at this point. Boost, if I hit this, the thing is going to grenade. Yep. If I turn the boost down, maybe? Less boost. Less boost cuts power and torque by a huge, huge amount because obviously we're very boost dependent. Fuel map. We're still running direct injection singles, which is what I needed to in order to get the twin charging option. If we go per cylinder, this is probably just going to blow the whole thing up. Oh yeah, it destroyed it. Yikes. Okay, more work to do here. Okay, a retune again, and we're rocking 13,074 horses, and that was after I changed to direct injection per cylinder. I don't really know what's left on the table here. We can retard the timing a little bit, I guess, and just see where that goes. I mean, it does nothing. Fuel map, I'm running 108. I'm not even running 107. Running 107 would probably just blow the thing up. I'm curious. Let's just see. 107. Yeah, it does nothing for me. 107 basically is cheating. Like, this is such a good fuel. It is insanity. But running the NM50, this is nitromethane, by the way, it's not giving us anything better up in here. One of the things I was curious about is if we run something like methanol. We just lose a ton of power, but it doesn't help our reliability threshold. I was thinking that maybe because those fuels come in cold, that theoretically they would be better than like gas, as an example. Maybe compressed gas, let's see. Yeah, none of this stuff has any effect on the reliability thresholds at all, unfortunately. Back up to the big boy. Negative 100% on the pistons. This might be the best that I can do right now. Within any reasonable time frame, I think 13,100 horsepower. I'm increasing my previous record. I mean, it's not really a record. You can do a lot better than this in the game, but my previous stuff from last year by 1,000. So that's not that bad. I'm setting expectations high enough. Before you go too crazy, I know about the RPM target slider, okay? I didn't know about it last time, but I've seen the comments. I know now. So what did we gain from all of this? A quad turbo V16 again, which makes sense. I was hoping to use some of the new stuff, but I just feel like it's not the same type of power. It just can't do it. And also the complexity of trying to tune one of those crazy quad turbo systems with the compound turbos and stuff is just bananas. This is what that looks like, by the way. It's just insane. I really, really like the way that it looks, and I have an entire video planned for compound turbos, so get ready for that. Okay, I mean, I screwed up the tune and then I improved the tune somehow because now I'm making 13,129.6, and that is, I believe, the best I can do. That's with a couple extra changes, so a little bit of inconsistency, but better somehow. Alright, let's give this engine a listen, and hopefully it doesn't grenade itself partway through. Yikes, okay. It sounds like a jet taking off, which is not particularly surprising considering it has 4 massive turbos on it. And for my next trick, we have to somehow make this thing actually function in the bus, which has very skinny back wheels, and I believe that this only fits rear wheel drive as well, which is unfortunate. Actually, you know what? I did shrink the size of the engine, not a ton. I mean, it's 72 liters now, 73.7 roughly. Is that gonna fit in anything else with this bus? Can we do all-wheel drive? That drive shaft is insanity. Look at the length on it. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, let's just see. I mean, the rear tires are blowing, everything is blowing, but potentially we can get a little bit better power out of this and a little bit more acceleration as well. Apparently it takes 20 seconds to get to 100, and this thing has over 13,000 horsepower. So in order to make the tires not explode, I'm basically going to switch it to be the best of the best, like straight up race suspension, push rods, like everything that we can get. The entire bus is made out of carbon fiber, and it's also a monocoque chassis. I believe this is still the lightest combination of things that you can get. It is very, very light, and that is what I want. It weighs way too much. If we go over to the summary, we're still 4,500 kilos, so that's just insanity. Obviously, the engine is a big portion of that. Most of that weight is in the back. Okay, getting into the nitty-gritty of the gears and stuff is what's up next. Let's try to make this thing actually functional and usable, at least mildly. Right now, if we take a look at, actually it's in this menu here, it's currently 4.4 seconds to 100, so I have drastically improved the bus by making it have a all-wheel drive system. Now, if we go for an electric LSD, it should be even better, theoretically. One of the things I want to do is increase the size of the wheels, although unfortunately it seems like that it might be the best that I can get, and we'll do carbon fiber wheels as well to try and cut some of the weight out of it. There's just so much weight in this bus. So it actually doesn't really make a lot of sense to adjust this stuff yet. It's better to go through everything else first and then come back. So you have your wheels set, your tire size set, everything else is set. Having uneven tire sizes on all-wheel drive, we're just gonna pretend that that's not the case. Everything else though, biggest it can be, highest force that makes sense. It's got to be really good. I'm going to do full race pads. I'm also going to increase the rear force, and short gearing is a problem, oversteer is a problem, front brake force is very high. I'm going to keep all that stuff as high as it can be. It'll probably have to be like this. Aerodynamics, we don't need any of this stuff, it just adds weight. That is a lot of uplift, so it should be fine. I was struggling a lot with cooling, and I am going to increase the cooling airflow a little bit. By the way, I just want to point out fuel economy, 479.4 liters per 100 kilometers. One of the issues that I had with this vehicle in the past was when you turn it on, it just starts drinking fuel and it runs out before you do any like distance at all. So I'm curious if we can see that through again today. Which makes me think if we put a flow optimized under tray on it, I mean, the fuel economy gets better, right? That's a little bit more. Interior, I mean, it has full bus seats and all that stuff. I'm taking all of it out. This thing is going straight to efficiency mode. You can see here our weight is 4,446.8 kilos, and we're going to continue to try and cut that. Safety, I'm literally going to do none. No safety. Who needs it? In an effort to help with the oversteering issue, which is a massive problem, I've increased the weight distribution to try and send it all up to the front. If we take a look at the drivetrain, it's really not made that much of a difference. I mean, it's still mostly rear biased, but we'll see. Yeah, we're 38 front, 62 rear, so there's not really that much I can do about it. Suspension, I gave it air suspension last time. I don't know why I did that, which we'll just go to something a little bit more fancy. And a full race preset, because I think that that's the only thing that's going to make it work. Just the exhaust pipes are going to be scraping on the ground, and the differential as well, so I'm going to give it as much ride height as I can reasonably. Still 476.5 liters per 100 Ks. Wow. There is not much I can do with that. Other than change the gearing. Okay, we've reached a point with this thing where it can actually do a decent top speed. It can get there quickly. This bus is going to be fast. First thing I'm going to do is switch the power split. It wants it to be much more biased to the rear, so I'm going to change it right there, and that should hopefully help things balance out as well. The reality is that the way that this game works is just having anything in the front is good, so we're going to keep it there, and then hopefully get rid of some of the bumps and things in the graph. Turning up the top speed. With an actual functional set of tires and drivetrain, we can actually do 472 so far. I believe I can get more. 491 seems like it might be the max. We want a little bit of overdrive, not too much. Yeah, 491.8 is the maximum top speed on this sucker. That is insane. First gear is 131 kilometers an hour. You would just never leave first on a regular day. I mean, you wouldn't get anywhere except between gas stations on a regular day as well, but they'd have to be less than a block away from each other. That did improve our fuel efficiency significantly, just as an FYI. Auto manual, probably not the best. I'm going to switch to, I mean, dual clutch, perhaps? That gives us a little bit better top speed. We do lose some fuel efficiency, though. Like, realistically, I want to put, like, 10 gears in this. Although that did make our fuel economy significantly worse. Alright, well, I played with the transmission quite a bit and put a lot shorter of a spread on it. Should be a lot quicker, 3.5 seconds to 100, and it shouldn't be too crazy with the wheel spin and stuff. Grip and force and all that, it's a disaster over here, don't even look. I'm just going to switch it. Oh, that's even worse. That's worse too. That's bad. That is horrendous. Okay, just ignore this entire graph section. But 98.2% sportiness, 97% drivability. I have created something that may actually function. So, final stats on the bus. It is a very nice 4,524 kilos and 13,130 horsepower, basically at 5,800 RPM with a 74-liter V16. With ridiculously low compression, and yeah, I mean, you saw what it looks like. Rear engine all-wheel drive, which is odd. Sequential transmission. It's a weird vehicle. It's going to be strange. I'm excited to run this in BeamNG, and hopefully it actually functions. Let's give it a go. Alright, so here is the bus in BeamNG. Come on, the Magic School Bus. By the way, the Magic School Bus has nothing on this. Just take a listen, just a peek. Hold on a second. I have to get past the collision warning. There we go. Okay, now take a listen. Cylinder walls melted, my favorite. And boom. I did make this a sequential, which was probably a mistake, but it means I do get the opportunity to shift the gears myself and watch this thing drink fuel. Look at how quickly the fuel is going. One rip on the donut pad and you're done. I mean, the thing is that it runs out of fuel before it blows itself up. Like right now, I'm out of gas. It's that quick and then it's done. Let's see if we can fix some of these issues, because it's really good otherwise. Actually, hold on. Before we do any tweaks, let's run the drag strip. I don't think I'm going to be able to do a proper timed run on the drag strip because we're probably going to run out of gas before it does the countdown on the tree. But I just am curious what it's like with full hookup. I mean, whoa! I mean, we do have all-wheel drive. Like we have a ridiculous rear weight balance, but we're almost out of gas again. I'm going to have to restart when we hit this. I'm just curious what this is going to be like with full traction. So let's do it. Let's hit it off. Fatal Lua error. Man, I love these errors. Full send. I'm not going to rev it up because it's just going to blow itself up. I just reset it. Ah, the stupid collision warning. There it goes. Okay, here we go. The brakes are not enough to even stop this thing from a dead standstill. Boom. Fifth gear. It's honestly not that quick considering how much power it has. Like, we ran out of fuel at the end of the drag strip. It's really not as quick as you might anticipate considering how much power it has. I've gone ahead and added a fuel economy widget to right next to the speedometer there, so I want you to watch that and we'll track the results on it, see how we do. And we're out of gas just like that, so how did we do? It seems like it used 17,800 and something liters per 100 kilometers. We used 245 of our liters in 1.4K, and it was probably a lot less than that due to wheel spin. That is the best fuel economy I have ever seen. Pretty much the same as any V8 truck right there. Now, if we go to the vehicle config, now I'm done messing around with the basic stuff. We got tuning options, we got a lot of things. The fuel volume is just not enough. Can I put like 100,000 in there? No. That's all we can get, so there's nothing else I can do. So interestingly, the fuel economy when it's just sitting here is still ridiculous, but it's not as bad as you might think. Just idling, we're not burning that much. Giving it a run, I mean, they've got to turn off this stupid ESC again, but it's starting off in sport mode. That's the only real difference I made. It makes no difference overall. Ooh, yeah, the exhaust pipes are extremely close to the ground, and therefore the bus is unusable in anything other than the flattest of terrain. Thread the needle. That counts. So you've seen me attempt to use this bus in the most awful ways possible, and I just want to first of all say let's do some real bus driving, some actual bus driving. None of this nonsense. So we're gonna drive once the accident thing calms down. We're gonna do like a regular bus route, I guess, just 50 kilometers an hour. It's barely any RPM at all. I'm actually gonna do this entire run in fifth just to try and get the RPMs as low as they can possibly be. It sounds horrendous when it's this like chugging along trying to fight the transmission, but it is fun nonetheless. If we were to try and get the furthest distance I can with this, probably the best way to be would be just to like leave it in first and then just let it idle itself along. That's probably the most it could do, but there really isn't a good optimal like fuel economy RPM or speed with this thing. It's just always gonna drink. It's also always gonna drift. There's really nothing I can do about that either. The game is so jittery with this. I think that there's something wrong with the bus where it's constantly in collision with something and it's just not happy about it, which is likely why it starts the way it does. See, as soon as you start to hit the gas even a little bit, it just starts drinking, starts chugging. Engine oil critically low? What the? How am I losing oil that quickly? Probably like burning or broke something more significant? This bus is not built for longevity. Okay, I did accidentally do a couple of burnouts and a couple of other things. And now it's overheated and damaged, but I managed to do 2.5 kilometers on half the fuel in the tank, and look at the thing go. When you have it huffed, it just drinks. There's nothing left. So let's go out with a bang. This has been a pretty fun experiment. The most powerful car I've made 2025 is not even a car, it's a bus. And it's wickedly quick. It drinks fuel faster than you might ever see. 74 liters, I guess, does that. But like, there are engines that are that big. I mean, they don't make this much power, but what can we do? Can we make the most fuel efficient 75-liter engine possible? I really want to try that now. I would love to try that. Okay, next time. Most fuel efficient 75-liter engine. If you do it first, tell me what you get in the comments so I have something to fight against. Let's see who can do better, me or you. In this case, it's probably you. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I am looking forward to seeing what you guys say in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this one, be sure to subscribe and check out my Patreon and also my, everything else, YouTube memberships and all that. This year, I'm trying to take YouTube seriously, and I'm doing so by making more videos, a little more consistent, trying to do what I can before my second child is born, and then it all goes out the window. But until then, boys and grills, thank you for watching. See you again soon. More videos to come.